You are listening to Golden Otter Divinations, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream with Autumn Seibel. Tune in as Autumn helps you manifest your dreams by connecting to loved ones in spirit, empowering you to find both physical and spiritual healing. Are you ready to transform your life and connect to divine guidance through practical strategies? Golden Otter Divinations is the place to find engaging interviews with medical experts, practicing mediums, intuitives, healers, and many more. Now, here's your host, Autumn Seibel.
Hi everyone, I'm Autumn and you're listening to Golden Otter Divinations. Stay with us for the next hour as we explore where the metaphysical meets the mainstream. Join us when we have new, informative, and engaging interviews with medical experts, practicing mediums, intuitives, healers, and many more to help uplift, educate, and empower listeners like you to find physical and spiritual healing. Oh boy, I am like on location right now, so I'm totally zoomed up. I'm really excited. But I am calling in all millennials and light workers because my guest today is part of a rising cadre of young energy healers who are taking up the generational mantle of sharing our innate spiritual gifts. So I have Joseph Adams with me today.
Hi guys.
whose understanding of Ascension was catalyzed after 7 years of training in the art of lucid dreaming, when he initiated an out-of-body experience during a meditation in which pressure released from his forehead and he was immersed in rhythmic indigo waves that flowed throughout his body from his head through his head and crown. This event secured Joseph's connection to an esoteric process that we are all participating in. Accessing the wisdom that emanates from this divine connection has been his driving mission to guide the collective in understanding the evolutionary process. So Joseph's goal is to shed light on the very specific dynamics that allow us to evolve. This evolution is guided by the embodiment of love. The laws of love provide two ways in which we can ultimately ascend our consciousness. Bringing light to this truth helps polarize us and align us with our choice of service. Essentially, we ask ourselves, are we here on earth to serve ourselves, or are we here to be of service to others? This is a choice that defines our progression and propels our quest towards the next level of harmonic consciousness, as Joseph refers to it. So Joseph specializes in leading conscious thought through the oftentimes formless concepts that propel our growth. Coming into harmony is no easy process, but Joseph has the ability to take formless metaphysical ideas and provide a rational, linear process for understanding them. Once we understand the way that something works, results can be attained more effectively. And you guys know I'm an educator, so I'm all about that. One of the most effective and necessary processes Joseph works with is the process of integrating the shadow. Much of Joseph's work revolves around understanding what it takes to heal our past. With each experience we have that takes us out of harmony, a small piece of ourself is left behind. Collecting these pieces back into the whole is how we find our total power. No piece of our history can be left behind when liberating ourselves from suffering. And over time, the continued effort to harmonize gives rise to our strength and connection with our higher power. A calling for integration gives us connection to our true divine selves. Wow. So that is just a little bit about Joseph Adams and what he does. And without further ado, I'd love to welcome you to Golden Otter Divinations. So
Thank you, Autumn. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we are on location. I'm calling this Joseph's Crystal Palace because we are literally surrounded by crystals. And I'm so excited and so high vibe right now. And I kind of have to ground myself. I grabbed a crystal to do just that. We don't really need to raise our vibration much higher because we've got these sound bowls ringing behind us. But to get us in the flow of the show, I like to ask all of my guests if they've had any golden moments lately. So a moment that made your heart sing, or you knew was sent by spirit, or just really it got you into flow.
You know, I did have something planned that I wanted to say, but I'm gonna say my moment was actually right before we were sitting here, and you know, this is a live show, and I was starting to feel the little butterflies and everything. Like, oh no, you gotta be calm. And then just to feel the calmness with the spirit guides and so much help we have on the other side, to feel that blanket over me, like, oh, everything is good, everything is beautiful, nothing to be nervous about.
Yeah.
And just to know that we always have so much help just right there. So that's my moment right now.
Oh, right now, I love that.
Right now.
I love that. Thanks, Joe. every time I record a show, you know, I'm running around. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm employed. I do all these things. I wear all these hats, and I run sometimes. And whenever I land in this spot for this show, I feel like I'm syncing up with universal timing, because everything happens exactly as it's supposed to, and things that I might be worried about in my conscious mind can be quickly and easily just released, and it just flows. So I always feel like a moment of recording is a golden moment. It's so fun. So thank you so much. So we're just gonna dive right in. Thank you so much for sharing. We're gonna talk about crystal energy, because like I said, we are in the Crystal Palace. And I just want to get started by asking, how have crystals facilitated your journey?
Well, such a beautiful question. I don't even know where I would be if I didn't have the crystals with me, because you know, to fast forward, it's like, what are the crystals doing? What's their relationship with us? And the most important thing that I learned with the crystals is that they're teaching about ourselves. They're showing you that you have all of this potential and all of this energy already inside of you, that you don't really need them, but they are perfect and beautiful teachers, and they can really help you bring that energy out to help you create the reality that you wish to manifest. So that's what they really taught me. And so I can't not say something about my favorite crystal, which is this one right here. I don't think you guys will be able to see it from the on the screen, but it's actually a green tektite, and it's called moldavite. And this was the crystal that literally started everything for me.
That very one, or
Not
moldavite in general?
Moldavite in general. The little one, I have an altar upstairs. My first little piece is sitting on top of it. It's the start of the show.
How old were you when you found your first crystal? To the questions.
Well, I did collect them, as many kids in this generation. We just collected stones and rocks for no reason. And then now I realize, because they have so much to teach us. And so much information I want to just share so fast. But back to moldavite. When I had my spiritual awakening, I got into crystals immediately after, and I was reading this person's experience about lucid dreaming. And they said they had fallen asleep on a piece of this stone, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get that immediately. So I found a small piece, came in the mail, and then the very first night, boom, lucid, vivid dreams right off the bat. Now it increased the chances of the lucid dream. And I remember holding this crystal, and like many people, this is one that you can do research on and just look at all the people's experiences. Like, it causes heat flashes and just rushes of energy. And for me personally, I felt so much heat on the back of my head and just this charge. And what it's essentially doing is that there's classes of crystals that are high frequency, high vibrational, like we like to say. And then there's more grounding crystals, like this right here. Like, everyone's seen black tourmaline before. Very grounding, puts you back in your body.
But it does tourmaline protects against negativity as well, right?
Yeah, it helps
the
absorb.
Necklace that if I'm going into a situation where it's they're my battle pearls.
Exactly.
They're black. It's black tourmaline we got in Mexico at the pyramids, and I wasn't super into crystals at the time, but I felt drawn to them. And they had these wands that they were selling of tourmaline, and some people are freaked out by them. I was like, I'll take two, thank you. And anyways, I wear it when I'm going into a situation that I know might be not in alignment with who I am, and it helps me stay grounded and kind of repels. Again, even if that's only a figment of my imagination, I love that I have some sort of external thing that I can wear that looks normal to the naked eye.
Well, there is one stone that there is actually a lot of science on, and it's called shungite, and I'm actually wearing it right here. This one can block from electromagnetic frequencies. It can even help. Now, don't quote me too much, but there is tons of science on it that you can look up and research, but it can help purify water. It only comes from this place in Russia.
What's it called?
It's called shungite.
Shungite.
Yeah. really
Okay.
common stone.
Okay.
It has actually antioxidants that come from it,
Very
and they're called
cool.
fullerenes.
You know, in the mom world right now, like a lot of kids are wearing amber.
Oh
So
yeah.
and as
I just saw an info very recently.
my daughter had show and tell this morning and had to bring something about the weather, and we were trying to, and she forgot her thing at home, and she was wearing her amber necklace, and I said, well, baby, you can just share about your necklace. And she goes, well, why, Mom? And I said, because when it gets warm, when the weather changes and it gets warm, it releases into your skin, and remember, it helps you calm down. She's like, okay, I'll just share about that. And I'm like, whew, crisis averted.
Is it also
But
anti-inflammatory?
it's anti-inflammatory. Yeah, so it's like moms are using amber necklaces for teething. And I was late to the trend. I could never get a necklace on my babies. And then when they became little girls, it was like the easy option. And now they just wear them. And I notice a difference. But it's kind of like an easy into crystals, especially if like you're a mom or, you know, a woman. Necklaces are really easy into crystals.
They suit some form of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no I don't know how much of I could get away with at work walking around with one of these, but you never know. I get away with it.
It's all its label. This is for calming.
This is my calming stone.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. So you were saying your first piece was moldavite.
Yeah, so the first piece was moldavite. That's the stone that I tell to everyone, if you can only have one stone for, as long as you can live, this should be the stone, due to its potential to help catalyze and open and awaken.
Perfect.
Because it just draws up that energy it's just the most powerful activator.
But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact him. So, Joseph, could you give us your contact information for listeners?
Yes. So my website is www.josephadamshealing.com. And you can also email me at josephadamshealing@gmail.com.
Perfect. And then you're on social media?
Yeah, social media, Joseph Adams Healing on Facebook, Instagram, Joseph Adams Healing.
There you go. And while you are on Instagram, pop over and say hello to me. I'm Golden Otter Divinations. I am on there every now and then when I can handle the energetic plug-in, because social media, the energy in that space is real. And I don't think we have come to grips with what that actually is, because it's as much.
We're guinea pigs right now.
Yeah, it's as real as this is, at least to some of us. Some people, it's another fake world, and some it's very real. But anyways, I'm there sometimes. Check me out if you get a chance. Okay, so we're going to talk about energy healing, and I just want to start by asking, how did you know that you had a gift?
So after I got into healing, I had signed up for a workshop to teach on crystals, and I'd been practicing on some people, and it's like, you know what, I think I'm ready to take the next step and actually have official clients. I just had this vibe.
Yeah.
And so I did my very first workshop, and my first client was like, I want to get a session with you.
Was it like Reiki sessions?
Yeah. At the time, I was trained in Reiki, but it was slowly blossoming into something that was what I was meant to develop into. Because there's so much more about my gift, which I'll explain in a minute, about what it is I'm doing and what I learned, what my strength is. So anyway, so I had my first client, and I meditated for so long beforehand. I was like, I gotta have my energy perfect.
Yeah.
And so when I had the client on the table, I begin the session and I start working on their belly, and I feel all this tightness, and then boom, they have a Kundalini awakening on my very first healing session. The person was just shaking and so much energy. It took me a good 10 seconds to realize what had just occurred.
Was the person physically shaking?
Physically, like there was it was like electricity that it was so tangible everywhere.
Do you warn people before they come on your table? Because Reiki is essentially hands-on healing, but it's very light touch, or it's above the body. It's energy work.
Yeah, and during this time, I actually wasn't even touching the body.
You were just
It was like
above.
I disintegrated this dam, and I felt this energy rush up them and out their crown. And as soon as I touched above their crown, I felt that energy, and I knew instantly that was Kundalini energy. I just had a Kundalini rising like a week prior to it's almost like to get me ready. Like this is what it feels like, again. And so they were completely transformed, obviously, after that experience. And if you don't know what Kundalini is, it's an energy that everyone has inside the body in their breasts at the base of the spine. And it's an energy that serves as a mechanism to help evolve the energetic body to the next state by clearing, purging, and a lot of extra sensory comes when the energy is released. But it comes at a cost of a lot of training and a lot of time, because you're just so high strung afterwards, because there's so much energy that gets moving in you.
You know, I've been meaning to talk to somebody about this. I guess now is the time. You talk about your awakening experience before, and I think you've asked me that question, like, well, when did you have an awakening experience? And I'm like, well, there were times in my life when I can point to that say, like, this is when the energy shifted, or this is when my understanding shifted. And I think all of us can, when we meet a certain person, or you go through a certain life, like a really profound life event, a birth, a death, something like that. And for me, I actually think when I gave birth twice, both times after, my ability to understand subtle energy, my ability to understand and practice mediumship, both, like, each time I gave birth, I have 2 children, 3 years apart. And I can, in my mind, look at those chunks of time and kind of see where I was. And I mean, it would make sense. You're opening your conception cradle, you're inviting a soul into your physical body, you're more or less inhabiting there, like you're holding space for 2 souls. And then when you give birth, you are releasing this vessel of energy, and it can feel both invigorating and terrifying, because as a mother, especially when you're pregnant, and maybe this was just my personal experience, is that I felt like I was holding 2 souls at once. And I felt very cradled and very loved and very nurtured, but I had a really intimate relationship with my children before they came into my body. And so when they released from my body, I was like, yes, I'm so proud and so honored to have held this space. But then it leaves you. And I don't know, that's something I'd like to explore at some other point, but that's the only, when you talk about an awakening and that feeling, and I'm sure it can happen at other times, that's a time that I can point to when it was like, wow, that's what that was. Beyond just the words that we put postpartum and pregnancy and delivery and transition, besides all the medical terms, there is an energy that happens when you're a mother. And maybe that'll be a conversation I have down the line with somebody as I look into that more. But every time you tell this story or I hear you talk about it, I think of that. And recently I was able to kind of encapsulate it. But so you're awakening.
Yeah, so it was after that session, I started getting more clients, and then it wasn't until I started going to actual holistic shows where I would have, anywhere from 10 to sometimes 20 people throughout the weekend of healing. And then I started to hear this, like, that was the strongest healing I've ever felt in my whole life. I've been receiving healing for the last 10 or 15 years, and I've never felt something like that before. Somewhere after the second, third, fourth, fifth time of hearing that, you're like, there's something, what am I doing actually? Why is this happening with me? And then that's when I started to get more in tune with my gift and what it actually is and what I'm doing. And so part of it is that I've learned how to ground and hold the such magnitude and strength of some of these non-physical entities, and I can bring them so close to this dimensional energy. And by doing so, that allows for them to get very, very close to the recipients and to do what is that.
So you're acting as a channel.
Yeah, more like an anchor. And then also learning how to work with them, because they work through your higher power. Meaning like my evolved energy, my, not this 3D, but, your non-physical aspect is working in conjunction with them. It's like they're merging with your higher power, which is everything that you experience. And it's this brilliant collaboration of this complex, seemingly Broadway play of so many entities working to change and help and guide someone towards the energy that they're meant to grow into. And that's more or less the style of my healing. It's to help someone blossom into what it is they're meant to be. And so that's why it's almost like healing through your ascension process, your evolutionary process. Some people have Kundalini awakenings. Others, I can clear all the stress, all of the anxiety, all the fear. Other people, I can help heal parts of trauma, emotional
Yeah, that's what I was
wounds.
going to ask you. Why do people? We came into contact through a friend. I can't even remember. It's like one of those meetings. I'm like, how did we even meet? But I knew we were meant to. And so I always wonder, like, how do people seek you out? People who seek me out, there's usually a very specific reason. And it used to be mediumship, and that was kind of what I did. And now it's turned into another platform. But with you, like, how do people seek you out for what types of healing? And B, how can people who don't have access to you utilize some of these techniques? And we might have to hold that conversation after the break, but
most of my growth with my the people I work with, it's been word of mouth mainly, and it's always been these very specific cases in which I'm helping, you know, administer this healing or this catalyst for their growth. At the same time, I'm learning a tremendous amount about the inner workings of the energetic body, because it's more complex than we have the brain power to understand.
So it's a two-way street. They're helping healing them, and they're helping you learn.
Because during the last 5 years, I've been putting, oh man, countless hours, at least 1 to 2 hours every day into meditation, in which goes into the form of self-healing, expansion, and new growth. And that has really been a huge asset to me, is being able to do that.
I want to talk about meditating. We'll probably do this later in the show because, I love the idea of meditating for 2 hours, but in the modern world, as a mother, you have to make the time to do it. And like, there's just certain, we all come to learn different lessons, and what a fortunate position you're in to be able to like create that time, not have that time, because you create it. Yeah. And if people want to do things, it's just like with anything. If you want to learn, you have to make the time to learn. If you want to grow, you have to make the time to grow. If you want to heal, you have to make the time to heal. And you really have to prioritize what it is that you're seeking in your own life.
Well, a lot of people are meant to blossom into their, their goal for this life, and it's the reason you would want to go see a healer, someone who practices the life, because this is a lifestyle. This isn't like this something I do on the side.
Yeah.
This is
your.
As soon as I wake up, every present moment is how to keep myself in a growing state, and that's not a discipline. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing. But the reason you want to go see a powerful healer is because you get to benefit off of the work that they put in.
Yeah.
You don't have to go put in all that thousands of hours of meditation to learn this one thing or to have this catalyst of new growth. You can go to someone who's powerful and be able to get activated in a very quick way.
Yeah.
And so that's also another form of healing that I can do,
like quick activation,
is to give that activation.
You know what? I was just I don't want to talk about it too much, but I was just at a Tony Robbins event because I watched that I'm Not Your Guru thing. And I always was like, kind of like, what's going on with this person? I thought he was kind of like, my mom's generation or older. I'm just like, is he still around? And I actually went in person, and there was some stuff that we learned at that seminar that talk about activating. It gets so rooted into your soul that when you activate or when you come into contact with it, you don't even realize, and it becomes subconscious. It's not planting. He's not making you do anything. He's calling out a part of your soul where it's like, if this is where you want to live and this is where you be, this is how you have to show up in the world. So it's not anybody making anybody do anything. It's you stepping into that in a space that's
just feeling his presence.
Yeah. So for 1 second, I want to talk about light warriors, because we hear a lot about light workers, which I think a lot of people are talking about nurses and doctors and medical practitioners and teachers and people who are in occupations that are predominantly of service. That's what I call a modern light worker. What is a light warrior? That's what I want to talk about.
The light warrior. Wow. Yeah, that's a big one. So you hinted on service. And like, I have a philosophy that when we're here in this dimension, this reality, you have the simple choice, and it's how do you want to ascend your consciousness. And to free your consciousness, you have the choice of serving yourself or being service of others. We all know that we're all trying to be of service to others, and it truly is a freedom that takes over you when you begin to serve and understand what that's doing for yourself and what that's doing for the collective. Because it's not just a behavior that you do when it's time to help someone. It's a polarity and a power that you're harnessing within your whole energetic body. So you're beginning to build alignment of your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your expressions that are in service to other people. It's not a selfish interest. It's like, I truly want to, for instance, I'll use myself as an example. Like, the more I harmonize myself, the more I purify myself and discipline myself, I know that I'll be able to provide a better service for the people who receive my work. And so that's a big inspiration and a big motivation to continue doing what I do. It's not about me, and that's a big thing that I carry with me, is that all this growth, it's not about me. It's to help others and to give clarity and to shed light on a lot of these very confusing and difficult, complex topics. Because, as we kind of mentioned before, it's like, if you don't have hours to put into this, like self-inquiry, that it can be very difficult to navigate what it is you're supposed to do with your body and your mind and how it's structured. So that's what keeps me going, is that I have felt the clarity in the growth and the polarity that builds the more I maneuver my energy into an alignment for others. And, and just to clarify, self-care is not self-service. So always remember that. You have to take care of yourself.
That, being of service to somebody else and then caring for yourself, service to others, care for self.
Caring for yourself is not selfish. It's what you would do when you're always caring for others. You need to put that back into yourself.
It's like the wounded healer. You see a lot of people in the medical profession who are just burnt out and exhausted, and they're providing like hands-on physical care to individuals and then depleting themselves. And it's like, when you find a balance of a healthy way to recharge, to give that's just a more mainstream example. In the metaphysical world, similar thing happened with, I was doing too much mediumship. I was channeling too much, and I just got to a point where I was burnt out, and I, went back into my education roots. We were just talking about this. I spent a year more or less just being normal and being grounded and doing what comes naturally to me, so that I could in some ways care for myself to later be of service. And that self-care can be a day, it can be a year. It's kind of, it's all, time is relative, so it's whatever you need. But I like that idea of being of service to others, and how we use our spiritual gifts. It can either be in service to ourselves or service to others. I like that. I really like that. So I want to talk about receiving energetic transmissions. So what were the first ways you received energetic transmissions? What is an energetic transmission?
I guess it would just be the transmission of a new higher dimensional frequency. So if you ever,
like an idea that comes to you, or a feeling that comes to you rather than emanates from you?
It could be a feeling, or it could be literally a direct connection to a higher frequency, a higher vibration, because there's so much more order and wisdom and information that comes from a higher frequency. Now, what is a frequency? So right now, we're all engaging on a mental plane. We're understanding the English, the words we're saying, and we're on this mental frequency. But in meditation, when you silence the mind and you achieve clarity, you're able to go to these higher frequencies. So let's, like love, compassion, that's a higher frequency. There's more information that comes to you when you're in those states of being. And so when you get to the third eye, the energy that a lot of us open up and have these very transcendental experiences, you're experiencing so much more of reality, so much more information in the present moment, because it's a higher frequency. And so one of the first ways that I did was with the crystals, and I would just lay down this was probably right after my big awakening. I would lay down and I would just put all of these crystals, I would just lay them on the body and I would just be like this, and I would just feel, and I would start to feel different vibrations.
Like a crystal grid, kind of.
Yeah, I would develop a crystal layout, and I began learning, some crystals activate other energies, others more grounding. So I began developing different combinations, and I had to help with one of my soul family members. I'll give her a shout out if she's listening, because she was a pivotal part in helping build all of this knowledge. So much love to her.
Can say her name.
Yeah, Kara Christopher.
Oh, I know Kara. Okay.
Yeah, she's a huge part of this.
Well, other people can help us receive messages, and we were just talking about this, how people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I'm starting to now say that, like, we can choose to increase those increments. Like, it could be a reason that can turn into a season, and a season that can turn into a lifetime, if we're willing to go back into that energetic space and heal whatever needs to be healed. Because there's this idea that you can be like, well, I'll just deal with that at a later time, in another life or in another dimension. And I'm like, what if that's what you're supposed to be doing now, instead of just saying it'll heal later. But yeah, so just the different ways to receive energetic transmissions, like individuals can help get us into these, our connections with others can help get us into more peaceful, playful states that can help facilitate that.
Yeah, so working with crystals, that's probably one of the easiest ways. Meditation, obviously.
And then what else? Lucid dreaming.
So lucid dreaming, that's another way that you can just really maximize your ability to receive more information about what you want to do in your life. So lucid dreaming is where you become conscious and aware in your dreaming state. Just like our conversation right now, you have the same mental capacities as you would in normal reality.
Like if you're sleeping and you're dreaming that you're flying, and then you become aware that you're flying, and you go, this isn't necessarily something I can do in my waking state, which must mean that I'm dreaming, but instead of waking up, I'm going to keep flying. It's like you make the choice to stay in it. If anybody's seen the movie in the mainstream Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, that's more or less lucid dreaming. If we had to have a visual representation of it, that's what I would consider lucid dreaming.
Yeah, so dreaming has been such an important aspect to my ability to receive things that I've missed, because as I mentioned, this is a lifestyle of growth and development. So basically what I learned from dreaming is that anything that takes me out of my initial balanced state in my normal waking reality, something that causes a reaction, causes a trigger, or in other words, it takes me out of my heart center. If it was something important enough, I'll actually receive a dream that shows me what emotions came up that I missed, what parts of myself do I still need to work on. And it'll be so beautifully scripted and designed in the dreaming state, because it's your higher power, and your guides can actually help build dreams for you as well.
Sometimes there are segments of my show that I have to listen to again, and like this is going to be one of them. I'm going to have to go back and really look at lucid dreaming, because that's something that I'm starting to it's always been something I've come back to, dreaming. And when I first got into mediumship, I told the story, my older brother, who's in spirit, transition when I was 16, would come to me in dreams, and we would go fly. And for me, it just brought me a lot of peace and comfort. And as a teenager, that was all I needed. And then the older I got, the more he would come in my dreams. And then the older I got, the less it would be in my dreams and in my waking states. And the more comfortable in my waking states I was, the easier the dreams were. Like, I didn't even have to rationalize.
So this was such a revelation when I discovered this, because as I mentioned, when I stay in the present moment, in my balanced state where I don't have fear triggers, I don't have moments of anger, all that stuff's been long squashed. But I'd be in a meditation in which I would feel this incredible emotional experience, only to realize I would have a dream, and it would be an exact emotional blueprint to what I just experienced earlier in the day. So that was my big revelation of learning that when you go to sleep and when you dream, you're not necessarily having that experience when you go to sleep. It's happening throughout your day. You're just picking up on it when you go to sleep to get that information.
We were saying, I said to Carter, our producer, I said, I hope you caught this, because we were talking about this during the break. And essentially you're saying that there is no differentiation in time or space. Like if something is happening throughout your day, you're just catching up to the energy of it in your sleep, because time is just a construct of our imagination or our believed reality with which we interact with this physical world.
Time is a blossoming effect. All of your energy is blossoming at once, but it's just constructed so beautifully. You feel this linear progress. So when you really have these new perceptions, it really is mind blowing, because you're like, what part of the blossoming flower am I right now? You know,
that's a cool way to look at it. I like that. Yeah, that's like, I was talking to actually my mom about this, because the passing of my brother, his anniversary, he passed away on his birthday. And so he died and was born on the same day. And that has always been one of the weirdest life mysteries to me. Like for someone to transition, to come into this world and to leave on the same day has always just was something that piqued my curiosity. So anyways, my mom and I were talking about him. There was an earthquake and up in Alaska, and some things fell off the shelf, and it was his obituary and notes from his funeral and the last few things that he had said to us before his passing. And my mom was just saying, I haven't looked at that in so long, and I haven't talked to him in so long. And I said, well, time doesn't really have meaning over there. And so for us, it's been 15 years, but for him, I don't know. I'm like, I should check in and say, how long has it been? But is that an answer you could really give me? Because it's just different. It's just a different construct. But it's like you're saying, we're catching up to the moment. And the more we were talking about him as it led up to his anniversary or birthday, or whatever you want to call it, the more he was present around us. And it was like, we caught up to that moment in time. Like I'd been building the energy about him and with him and reconnecting. And then it manifested in the physical environment for, people who maybe aren't as focused on that as I am, because it's part of my spiritual gift and what you want to call it. But so speaking of, I do want to talk about that. What advice can you give to those with spiritual gifts, or those just discovering their spiritual gifts? Because how long would you say you've been consciously aware of energy and your ability to heal and living this lifestyle?
Yeah, this lifestyle. This
is not mainstream. This
started almost, I guess it was January 17th of 2014 was where it was like light switch. One day you're like this, and the next day you're doing something completely different. So yeah, since then. But my recommendation is to understand that the spiritual gift is just that. It's a gift. It shouldn't be something that you define yourself with, because it's not you. It's not fully you, and it shouldn't be what you think you are. And I like to, as I was saying this before, like my great humbling moment was where I was at a show, and I got there a little bit late, and I didn't have enough time to warm up, to get myself primed and ready. And I had my main healing guide come down and literally just blast me into the vibration within moments. And that's when I started to realize that like it's all them. They are the ones that can really fine tune you. And so what I would recommend is that your spirituality is your connection to your higher power and to the creator, to creation. That's your spirituality. How much you know yourself, because that's what happened to me. Was the more you learn yourself, understand yourself, you get to know the creator. And so that relationship is your spirituality, not your psychic gifts. They're there to help, and they can be very spiritual and lead you to certain understandings and realizations. That doesn't make you spiritual,
or necessarily it shouldn't become your identity.
Exactly.
We were talking about this earlier, where I was doing a lot of mediumship and a lot of readings. And I found myself in a position, because I'm an educator, I like to explain things, I like to go into the details, I like to elucidate things that maybe might be half clear, but a little bit still unclear. And for me, I found like with mediumship, I had to almost have a story. So people had to know how I was doing it, why I was doing it, when, where, what. And then it became more about education than it did the readings. And I always say, like, I'm not the best medium that ever came down the pike, but I happen to be a pretty good educator and understand the workings of mediumship. And it was separating my identity as a medium from my gifts in mediumship that helped me kind of find my spot where I felt like I wasn't creating a story or an ego around something that is not mine.
Yeah, and it's very easy to do.
Yeah, and it's because, like you said, it's coming from another place, and you just happen to be the vessel of understanding through which it can pass, and find the person who it is meant for, or they can find you. Yeah, very much. I want to talk about Ascension School real quick before we have to go.
Sure.
You have
I'm starting an online lecture series, and the first one is going to be on the website very, very soon. It'll be the Emotional Keys to Ascension. There will be one on lucid dreaming, on healing the shadow, and many topics of that nature.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm going to set it for Ascension School. You'll have tips for activating deep energetic healing in your life. You'll talk about how we can explore our innate spiritual gifts, finding communities of other spiritual seekers, then again, the shadow and the light. But you know what? That's it. It is already time to wrap up. I can't believe it. So, hey guys, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow Golden Otter Divinations on Instagram, where you can check in and let me know about your golden moments so that Spirit and I can cheer you on. Also, if you'd like to contact me or join my monthly manifesting membership, Lunar Manifestations, visit my website. It's goldenotter.us. Golden like the precious metal, and otter like the precious animal.us. Please take a moment to sign up for my bi-weekly email and get up-to-date info on all things Golden Otter as we head into the new year 2019. It also makes a great heart-centered gift if that's what you're looking for, something a little off the beaten path for your loved ones. So I want to thank my guest today, Joseph Adams, for sharing a wealth of energetic healing and transmissions. And I would thank you all for tuning in. I had so much fun sharing this sacred co-creation space.
Too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Our next show will be with Doctor of Chiropractic Medicine, Dr. August Manelik, discussing chiropractic care and body work for a fun, flexible start to the new year. I'll be up in Alaska recording that, so tune in so you can catch the majesty of my home state. All right, have a great week, and I'll feel your vibes back here next time.
Thank you for listening to Golden Otter Divinations, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream with Autumn Seibel. Exploring where the metaphysical meets the mainstream, Golden Otter Divinations helps you draw in the abundance that is yours by divine right. For more information or to listen to this show, visit goldenotter.us. That's golden like the precious metal, and otter like the precious animal.us.